Welcome on back into another episode of the Lads Talking Footy podcast. And as always, myself, Sam, joined with Jordan Turner and Simon.
What's up?
Back with another one. So kicking off with accountability. So try scorer Smokies. Simon, you had Hamlin Welly in at $5.50. Skeen, you had Tolakola in at $3.30, and I had Adam Whanua Blake in at $5. So we were all big red X's on that one. But as for locks of the week, Simon, Cowboys 1 to 12 at $3.25. Big wrong one on that one. Jordan, you had the Sharks head to head at $1.11, and I had Mulitalo anytime try scorer into Sharks head to head at $1.65. As for the lads, try scorer trivector, DWZ, Mulitalo, and Campbell Graham. Campbell Graham got scratched, DWZ didn't cross over, and Mulitalo was the only one that came in for us there, so we missed out on that one. As for tips, myself, 7 for 8. It was just the bunnies that got me on the weekend.
Very nice.
It was a little bit of a shame. I really thought that wet weather footy would have suited the Wars, but unfortunately they did not get the job done. How did you go?
No, they kind of shit the bed. They didn't play like they were meant to in the wet weather footy, but I also did pretty good. Not quite as good as 7. I got a 6 out of 8 score. And the props that I got were Sharks 13 plus, Raiders 1 to 12, Cowboys minus 13.5, and Seagulls plus 2.5. So 4 props that you could have cashed in on as well, and not a bad week.
Nice, yeah. So you guys have made me feel like shit. I was feeling hot with my 5 out of 8, but hey, that's all right. The Wires, Storm, and the Titans let me down. If I'd backed myself and picked the Raiders, like I said, was going to come through on my Instagram multi, it would have been 6 from 8, but sometimes I get crossed up.
I mean, it's better than an auto pick week.
Exactly. Hey, there was 0 auto picks, so that's progress.
Very nice.
Into State of Origin. So we've had the Game 3 squads announced, and we'll start off with Queensland. So Reece Walsh and Flegler out, and we've got Big Corey Horsburgh, Jermaine Hopgood, and Dearden in for Queensland. I mean, AJ Brimo getting the start at fullback. What do you guys sort of picked up from what Queensland are doing here?
So it looks like a very similar team to what they've had in the first 2 games, which is fantastic for them because, they've got some key players out with Reece Walsh, but AJ Brimson is a hell of a talent as well and can kind of... He doesn't quite have the injection of pace into the line that a Reece Walsh does, but
it's kind of similar in a way.
It's similar in terms of the skill sets and in terms of the acceleration and footwork. So I like AJ Brimson. He is a talented player. But yeah, the best tip of the cap for them is that they've got a pretty similar squad because it has been looking very good for them. I like that they've put Harry Grant in to start because...
Yeah, I really like that rotation between him and Ben Hunt as well. Harry Grant's going to be that 9 moving forward for them, so he's got to learn how that starting in the Origin arena actually feels like and sort of going into it. And the other one is obviously Corey Horsburgh.
Yes.
I mean, they've got wiggle room to play some guys or some new boys off the bench, and I really like that addition of him. Big Red is going to look great in a big red maroon jersey.
Yeah, and he's earned it too. He's been playing really good in club footy, so it's good to see the big man get an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, putting Grant in, it's the perfect opportunity to give the key role to a young guy in a game that doesn't mean as much, but it's also going to have the same Origin feel. I'm picking there's going to be a bit of animosity, the way the game finished. We remember the way Game 2 finished, so that's not going to be an easy game for the Maroons. But yeah, like you said, they've kept the team fairly similar, but like some nice young blood in key positions at the perfect opportunity.
What would you give a grade? I mean, you gave them quite a good grade last time. And
I believe I was A-, and they can keep that grade. They can keep an A-. I would, if they had managed to somehow retain Reece Walsh and keep them at full strength, they would have bumped up.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen them now, and obviously I went from, C+ to... No, what did I say? The first one?
I think it was C+ to A-. And
now I would have bumped them up to A, but we'll keep them at A- because it is a very strong team.
Now for New South Wales, so for the outs, we've got Hudson Young, Jerome Luai, Junior Polo, Matt Burden, Payne Haas, Stefano Uitukamano, Tom Trebojevic, and Tyson Frizzell have all been axed. And as for the ins, we've got Bradman Best, Gutho, Cody Walker, Saifidi, Jake Trebojevic, Keenon Kolomatangi, Regan Gillard, Campbell Gillard, Scotty Drinkwater, and Spencer Lenu. So a lot of changes for New South Wales.
Lot to unpack there.
I guess the main sort of one, if we're starting right from the top of the list, is the fullback position.
Yes.
And this was sort of one that we were questioning a little bit on whether that was actually going to be a change or whether it wasn't going to be changed. And I'm looking at it right now, and I don't actually mind that Teddy gets to potentially play what might be his last Origin. He's done enough to see out this series, and then that number 1 jersey is just open on the open market as of next year, which I don't mind. Then as of the centres, Bradman Best making his Origin debut.
Damn, and that is really huge news. But I don't hate it. So the options for him in his place would have been Matt Burton and who else? Is there any other options?
It would have been Campbell Graham had he not been injured. It's a shame that he's had a tough series with injuries. Obviously, we had the turbo and Crichton slots in, and there was the whole rigmarole in game 1 in terms of the centre, and then obviously another centre goes down in game 2. So Campbell Graham's really missed out on that. But the only one that really comes to mind is Isaac Tungo.
Yeah, okay. And he was sensational in the game in the weekend, but we'll get to that eventually. But Bradman Best has been in pretty good form all year. He's showed out in the last game against the Bulldogs. His tackle breaking ability in that centre position is really elite. So I don't mind picking him as a pure out-and-out centre as opposed to a hybrid like a Matt Burton. I know Matt Burton's got a really good running game as well and has showed that he can play centre at a high level too.
And in the Origin arena.
Exactly. But Bradman Best, I don't mind him getting an opportunity. This is kind of what we were saying they should look at doing for this last game in terms of cultivating some young talent. But
I mean, he's built like a brick shithouse. That dude is fucking huge.
Exactly.
I mean, you brought up Matty Burden in the centre role, and we were talking off air. Obviously, Cody Walker slots into that halfback role, but that's where I would have rather have seen Matt Burden. You know, obviously this game doesn't mean anything. There's nothing on the line for
Just a bit of pride, though.
It is just pride, but it would have been good to have seen a potential half for the future blooded into this, like what Queensland and Billy Goat is obviously doing.
Yeah, so this team is somewhat confusing because they have done that with like certain positions like Keon Kalomaitangi and Bradman Best in terms of cultivating these young talents. But you look down the roster and you still get the impression that they're going for it.
Yeah.
But instead of going for it with a Panthers approach, there's a real Rabbitohs influence in this team with Damien Cook coming in to start, Keon Kalomaitangi, like we mentioned, Cam Murray coming in to start at 13, and then obviously Cody Walker, who we were talking about before. So they're really going to try have a go at this. Those guys, attacking-wise for the Rabbitohs, have looked sensational all year.
Yeah.
So I don't hate it. I really don't hate it because Luai has shown that he's kind of a bit of a lost chook out there without Nathan Cleary. So
I think the real big shame for me in this squad is Nico Hines.
Yeah.
And that ship is just like obviously just completely sailed for now, which is a shame because obviously he's been in that camp for the last 2 years and Cleary finally went down. You'd think a guy that's been in the camp, been surrounded with all the systems that they're doing, they would have slotted him right in. And a game like this even, I know Mitchell Moses played outstanding the last game, but this for me would have been time to pull the trigger on
and you
him.
see there at that 17 spot, you got Clint Gutherson.
I know.
And I like Clint, and he's been playing really good all year, but it goes back to what we say about what is the identity you want from this team going into a game 3 with nothing on the line. Do you want to bleed in this young talent, or do you really want to go for it? And the guys that could compete for that 17 spot are also extremely talented as well, like Scott Drinkwater and Nico Hines, and even picking two backs. Well, Reece Robson's technically a forward, but they're smaller back sort of players on the bench is also confusing. But you might as well go for the young talent and see what they can do in this arena.
Absolutely. And for me, when you think Clint Gutherson, you think safe as houses. He's great under the high ball, try-saving tackles. But coming off the bench, he's not going to provide that spark or that impact that you actually want. And you've got Scotty Drinkwater. Yeah, exactly. You got Scotty Drinkwater sitting in that 18 jersey. You imagine if he just sort of came on with last 20 minutes to go or something and just injected what he's been doing in the last 3 games for the Cowboys. He's just been absolutely carving up.
No player in better form.
Nah, and for me, that's the impact that they should have been bringing onto the field. And again, it's another young guy that has future potential Origin aspirations as well, and blooding him into it.
Yeah, so, do you have any thoughts on the team that they've named, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, just on what you're talking about, I think it's weird to have Gutho and Drinkwater. Like those two people play the same position, and you are taking a spot away from someone who could play a different position, who could almost earn their spot in the reserves if they played well, or if they trained well. But
Drinky's 18th man though.
Yeah. That's what I mean. But it's like, why have him at 18th man if you've got Gutho at 17? Like, are you expecting him to get injured? Like,
that's very true.
If someone gets injured, the bench gets really short in terms of forward depth.
Yeah, and then it's like with Damien Cook, he's a 80-minute player. Like Robson's going to get probably fairly little minutes unless he's going to come on as a forward interchange and run it as a prop somewhere, like which he could maybe, but it's just like it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I guess you need someone to play hooker just in case Cook goes down, but.
Freddie's doing some weird shit.
He is doing some weird stuff, but I don't mind having Robson and Cook. You're going to get the best out of those two guys as explosive, attacking runners around the ruck when they're both fresh.
Yeah.
So I don't mind them, chopping out and taking each other's minutes.
Yeah, he'll get like that 10 minutes before half time, and then the other break, and then Cookie will come on sort of fresh to go. But it's just the impact that Gutho's going to provide.
And even up front, it's a very different. Regan Campbell-Gillard is really good at getting you go forward ball and as a tough carrier, but there's not as much of a size or a presence, especially with the other prop going with Jake Trebojevic, as there was in the other two games with like Payne Haas and Paulo and those big boys.
And you've got Haas out, and then you're going and removing Polo. It's just like, where's your punch coming from? And it's a little bit strange.
I mean, the only thing I was going to say is with the Bradman Best conversation is you can look at who he's marking, right? He's going up against the hammer. So having a big, strong man like Bradman Best going against him, maybe some of those tries and some of those runs that he was, he's been doing all series, Bradman Best can kind of nullify that. Yeah. And the other thing I'll add is that, his tackle breaking ability, but it's the ability to score from like 5 meters out inside the 10. Bradman Best has got great front ball lines. Yeah. He can attack a weak shoulder and get through. Whereas, some of those other leaner centers that we've seen for the Blues just kind of get held up.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
for sure.
I'm high on Bradman Best. I really like his inclusion.
Moving on, before we get into the review and our takeaways, got 3 stats for you. Queensland have actually won 5 of the last 6 game 3s, but the last time that they won a game 3 was in 2019. Oh, sorry, the last time that the Blues won a game 3 was in 2019, and it was also at a core stadium. The most recent series that Cody Walker was called into was in 2020. He was called into game 2. That was at a core stadium, and he scored. He was the first try scorer for New South Wales as well.
Okay.
And the last time that Queensland were up 2-0 in a series was 2016. Game 3 was played at a core stadium, and New South Wales won that 18-14. So a core is a few good omens for us when we're down in a series, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
Into headlines. So with the recent firing of Justin Holbrook from the Titans, it's now opened up, obviously, a loophole in the contracts for Tino Fasuamala-Aui and David Fifita, meaning they are now free agents. Ricky Stewart and the Raiders were keen to sign Fifita before he recently committed to the Titans this season and have apparently made inquiries about it as of this recent news. So this will be interesting for me moving forward. Obviously, Fifita was happy to commit to the club and on a little bit less money than what they'd initially sort of signed him for. But whether he's going to see, obviously, eye to eye with Des, I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think this could potentially blow up for the Titans here and we may see Fifita on the out, or what do you reckon?
So, did David Fifita have a good relationship with Holbrook, and that is kind of the rumor as to why he is going to test free agency as opposed to...
There is no rumor as opposed to Fifita coming out and saying he's going to test free agency.
Okay.
It's just a loophole that's in the contract suggesting that. It was the same sort of thing that you saw with Isaiah Papali'i going to the Tigers, and when his name escapes me now, when they fired him, Isaiah sort of came back and said that was in the contract with negotiations, and so that's obviously the loophole. So I don't know. It means that they're able to be approached. They're free agents now, so it's on the open market.
So I like what they've done for Fifita this year by bringing in Kieran Foran, and I finally like the look of Fifita's in this Titans team and in this Titans lineup and what he can do to help them win football games. I think he should stick around, give Des a chance, because Des has coached at a high level and he has taken teams to some great success. He's won premierships, right?
Yeah.
So I think Fifita should really stick around, give it a chance, and then just hope that the head office can make the right decisions and put the right pieces around him and Foda Waker and all the other talented core players that they have and get this team to a title, because they're not that far off.
They're just a few pieces away.
Yeah.
The whole Raiders situation is a little bit interesting to me, though, as well, because Fafita's playing on that left edge, and who do the Raiders have playing on that left edge? Hudson Young. So whether he's would potentially shift back to the right or what they actually have in store for him, I don't really know. And they've obviously got a lot of cap moving forward now with Jack Whiten coming off the book, so they'd be able to throw some big figures at him. But I do hope he stays.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's a crazy clause to have. And if it's a consistent thing, I wonder if it's from the same agent and manager that's working that in there. But I guess that's smart for players in general to make sure that if a club decides to just axe their coach and torpedo their season,
your situation changes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's crazy. But yeah, good on them. But with JT, I mean, the Titans finding some form, finding some success. And with Des coming back, and because Des and Foran cross paths at Manly, right? So it's almost like they're getting the key pieces of Manly together.
Again, Manly spreading joy to the world of the NRL.
Yeah, it would be tough for the rest of the team to just see their coach go and decide, and for Tino and Fafita just to decide to hang it up and go somewhere where they get paid well in a team that might be more established as a competitor. It's a kind of, I don't know how similar it is, but it's like the whole KD situation where he left to join the Golden State Warriors, a team that's already well established and won.
Yeah,
you respect a player more to stick at a club that's given them, their growth, given them a shot in the league, and then return success for that club. So
for sure.
But at the end of the day, if they're not getting what they want at Titans, then go explore other options and get in a club that's going to value you.
In terms of an opportunity to win a premiership, there's not that much between the Raiders and the Titans, maybe other than the infrastructure of the Raiders being a more reliable club and a club that's proven to, win championships in the 90s and get their teams to finals as late as 2019 or 2020 or whenever it was. The Titans, on paper, have the talent, though. It's just whether he can trust the head office to, make the requisite moves to get him closer to a premiership. So, interesting stuff for David Fafita.
There is instability, though, in the Raiders with Whiten leaving as well, so you don't know what that's going to sort of eventuate into. And I'd say he's playing on that left edge with Foran, and he'll be saying, "Oos, what's Desi like?" Doggies are reportedly ready to target Payne Haas on November 1st with the help of Sonny Bill Williams. So Haas had said he was ready to commit to the Broncos long term, but from what it looks like, they've obviously put to bed whatever it was ongoing at the end of last year. Do we think Haas is actually going to commit to the Broncos long term, or potentially the Bulldogs are opening up this weird never-ending checkbook and they'll recruit another one into them?
I mean, I would have to lean more towards the Broncos just because it was very rocky last year, and we had reports week in and week out, it seemed like, of Payne Haas and his situation with the Broncos, in which we're not hearing at all at the moment. Funny how winning does that to a person in their situation, but that's also part of it as well. Winning. They've got a winning culture at the Brisbane Broncos. The Canterbury Bulldogs are probably one of the worst teams in the NRL at the moment. They've got a lot of guys coming in. They have a lot of guys on the injury reserve that can make an impact to winning rugby league. But the winning culture that we're seeing right now is in the Brisbane Broncos. And I think Payne Haas is a winner. He seems like a competitive guy. He stays out there for damn near 80 minutes, playing his heart off every game. So I think he'd rather stay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a good outfit. The Broncos, like we've said it many times, on paper should be leading the premiership. Like the team is stacked from 1 to 13 and even into the interchange. But I mean, is TBJ hanging around for another season at the Dogs?
I believe so.
Yes, I mean that's a deadly front row combo.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So I mean, he could be eyeing up a season at the Doggies. I mean, they're exciting when they're playing well. Current form is not well at all, but yeah, it's like,
I mean,
it's how much he wants to chase. I guess a fairy tale season with a Doggies next year to kind of just surprise the competition versus
A
stay with
genuine
good
contender.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the look of it if the Bulldogs can pull that off because you got fucking the Monstars.
Yeah.
If you've got Pangai Jr., Payne Haas, and Kickout all in one forward pack.
Yeah, wow.
Damn.
Led by Sonny Bill and Big Willie Mason.
Yeah.
It's just
Wow.
fucking crazy.
I don't know if their knees are up to that anymore, but still.
Into team of the week. So we've got Scotty Drinkwater in at fullback. On the wings, we've got Selwyn Cobbo and Murray Taulangi. In the centres, Bradman Best making his Origin debut and Val Holmes. And at the halves, we had Tommy Dearden and DCE, who had a fantastic game for Manly. I think he kicked just over 700 metres. Payne Haas, Phoenix Crossland, scored himself a double. Tapeni Fafita, Nanai, and Cam Murray. And then on the bench, we had Jeremy Marshall-King, Big Tino for Suamala-Awi, Isaac Tungo, and Kalen Ponga. I mean, Kalen Ponga had an absolutely fantastic game himself. Both teams just absolutely ran up a complete scoreline. Yeah, it was good to see. And for takeaways, so my takeaway from the recent round is, well, the Dragons lost to the Sharks 52-16. The Tigers lost 74-0 to the Cowboys. Simon's lock of the week. And the Bulldogs lost 66-0 to the Knights. So those three teams came into round 18 as the three teams on the bottom of the table and came out of it with a total of 192 points conceded and only 16 points scored while still remaining on bottom of the table.
Shout out Dragons for scoring all 16 of those points.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to. What's even more stupid is that only one of those teams scored the 16 points and another one lost to one of the teams being the Knights that are sitting only one place above them. So the Knights are sitting one place above the Bulldogs and just completely flogged them.
Those three are really separating themselves from the competition.
So my takeaway from round 18 is that the bottom three teams are really, really struggling. And thank you to the bookies because I walked out of round 18 with a very healthy withdrawal from those three games.
Yeah.
You just load up on try-scorer multis, did you?
Yeah, I normally do the 2 try scorers and then like a spread on it.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys, I was looking at it through it and I was like, fuck, I can't see any of the Tigers players scoring in this one. So I did like 5 of them. And then I was like, I really like all of these and just loaded them all up into a big one.
You didn't want to be a little more conservative and back up Simon's lock of the week? Cowboys 1 to 12?
No. Like that padlock was open and I was like, I don't want to jump into that one.
I wanted to just get up from the podcast as soon as I looked at my phone and realized that I had that written down. But I'll wear it, and hey, I'm coming back to redeem myself.
For sure.
Yeah. So vengeance is on the mind. But man, we're getting to that point in the season now. What round are we? We're round 18 coming up. 19. So it's getting close to playoffs. It's not like teams making mad runs for late playoff spots, but it's getting to that point where if your season is looking like it's over, usually you'll see those teams starting to fold. And we're seeing that from the Dragons, we're seeing that from the Tigers, and we're seeing that from the Bulldogs in these performances that they've just got nothing left to play for. And they're looking pathetic, honestly.
Hunt's already got his holiday to Bali already planned out. That Monday after the season ends.
Exactly. So my takeaway was to piggyback off the Tigers because they were terrible, but the Cowboys were amazing. Yeah. And the Cowboys and the Tigers have produced 2 of the craziest results I've ever seen in NRL regular season footy. So 122 point difference swing between 2 games, just 6 weeks apart, lost 66-18 to winning 74-0, and maybe Luke Brooks was underpaid. I'll just say that much because the teams were fairly similar. It was just Luke Brooks was out and...
Yeah, it actually is a record as well. That was confirmed. It's the largest turnaround between 6-week games between these 2 teams.
Oh, yeah, surely. Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but I just assumed that it would be because 122 points is absolutely crazy. Tigers, like we've already alluded to, were awful. 52% completion, 54 missed tackles, and 16 errors. But the Cowboys attack, holy fuck. It's firing on all cylinders. And, the Knights sort of rolled over the Bulldogs and they looked impressive on attack, but the Bulldogs really looked terrible on defense and the Tigers did as well. But some of the stuff that the Cowboys were doing
Tom Dearden
was absolutely magic. And Tom Dearden, when the Cowboys are rolling, there is no more dangerous half in the competition because he just loves having a go. Yeah. And in this game, he had 90 fantasy points, 1 try, 202 running meters, 3 line breaks, 3 line break assists, 2 try assists, 10 tackle breaks, and 3 offloads. He was amazing, man. He just cut them to bits. They stripped them on the edges. Hiku and Holmes doing a lot of damage as well, combining for 348 running meters between them. And you don't usually see Hiku doing as much damage as he was doing in the weekend. I know he's one of your favorite players of all time, Peter Hiku.
Cap.
So, and to finish it all off, the guy who was on the end of things, making absolute plays and getting some of the most ridiculous stats of all time, was our boy that we've been lauding on the show for the last couple of weeks. The guy who is in the best form in the NRL, Scotty Drinkwater. 101 fantasy points, 2 tries, 234 run meters, 1 line break, 4 line break assists, 5 try assists. So he was involved in 7 try scoring actions, 3 tackle breaks, and 4 offloads. Damn, man, this was a legendary performance, especially off the back of a 66-18 loss to the same team 6 weeks ago. Craziness, absolute madness. And with 4 wins in a row, including Storm, Panthers, and Rabbitohs, I'm going to say the Cowboys are back and they are genuine contenders and they are the hottest team in the league right now.
I just want to say I said that 3 weeks ago and you laughed at me when I said their odds were like $3.50 to make the 8 and it was like, here come the Cows. So
What'd I give it? 35%, I think.
Something stupid like that, but here we go. Yeah, they're among us. I think Scotty Drinkwater at the moment as well to win the Clive Churchill is at $51. So if the Cowboys can pick up on a hell of a run and have a fairy tale season, jump on that now, because if they're performing well in the finals and make it to the end there, he's the guy that's going to be the catalyst to that.
They do have a final footies team, okay, I guess it's rough saying they have no superstars, but I guess the talent's more spread across the team. They don't have any real just highlight superstars. They play really well as a unit.
Honestly, Drinkwater's he's up next, man.
Yeah.
He's up next
for sure.
And I'm a big fan of Tommy Dearden, and I wouldn't say superstar, but definitely like that. Who could I compare him to in the NBA? Like a De'Aaron Fox level of star?
I mean, you're using the wrong guy because De'Aaron Fox is the fucking man to me. So.
He's superstar to you.
Yeah.
Well, old Royzer would consider Dearden a superstar.
All right, so my key takeaway is more of just like a general assessment of the league based off this weekend. And basically, decision making from the loose forwards, halves, and fullbacks on the late set tackles 3, 4, and 5 is basically the winner and loser of these games. I mean, that might sound like a bit of a no shit statement, but just off this weekend and a few of the last weekends, on offense, where teams rack up huge score lines or lost close games, you have these key players making the right or wrong decisions consistently. You've got whether it's the man running a back door or the front man like angling in, the winning team always makes the right decision. And then you've got teams where they lose at close ones, and I'll use the Warriors as an example. They stick to a pattern. They don't choose the right option. They just choose the option they drill, what it seems like they drill at training. And the good defenses can read that. They've seen it in their video studies, and they just shut down the options. But it's the same thing on defense, right? You've got these players making smart tackles or poor reads. The Warriors, again, I'll single out Rocco Berry, making bad reads, jamming in a man too early. And these good teams are exploiting the holes that these guys are making. So, I mean, I'm including a lot of players in this and a lot of parts of the league. But I just think for the last stretch of this season, if these teams want to make these final pushes, they're just going to have to really focus in on those key spine players, their loose forwards, the outside backs, making the right decision, not just the decision they're familiar with. And that's on defense and attack. I think it's quite obvious that these players drill these defenses where if they see a man coming out the back, they shut in hard and just try and stop the option. But you see them shut in hard and the ball goes over their head, or it goes to the man, in short, and they just get left standing next to the guy that didn't catch the ball. So I think for teams like the Warriors, there's other teams floating around that lost close games, and for the teams that are just pumping teams at the moment to continue to do so, but just have those key players be aware that they need to continue to make the right decision and not just make what they're comfortable with. So, I mean...
It's a great takeaway, and I'll jump on that. The Sharks are a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
And it's all about painting a picture, and Nico Hines and Matt Moylan do it really, really well. And the fact that they play their edge forwards very early on, and they read whether that center's going to come in and they're going to two-man and jam them, or whether they're actually going to hold. And that's why their wingers and their edge forwards score so many tries, because if Nico sees that edge come in really early, then bang, they're going out, and that's why you're seeing Katoa score. And because he floats, they watch that defense drift and whether they're actually going to play that sort of man-on number game and jam in, or whether they're actually just going to slide with it. And that's why you're seeing so many tries coming to the likes of Brendan Nakora. Will Kennedy's having a fantastic season. Katoa and Molatalo, so great takeaway.
Anything, Ski?
Oh, no, perfectly said. You sounded like Wayne Bennett breaking that down. So
thank you.
Good work.
Player who impressed me the most from the recent round, I'm actually going to go with the young Tyrone Munro from the Rabbitohs. So only 18 years old. He made his NRL debut against the Warriors over the weekend. He scored 1 try, had a try assist, 2 line breaks, and 84 run meters, which in those conditions was very impressive to me.
2 line breaks in those conditions is good.
Yeah. It was absolutely terrible conditions at Mount Smart, like I'd said, but the young flyer really impressed. And I use the word flyer because he's actually the cousin of Josh Adokar.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Good genetics.
And only 183 centimeters tall, 80 kilos at the moment. As soon as that boy puts on some beef, the Rabbitohs have been looking for a gun winger to sort of cement themselves out there. Kid for the future and one to watch, absolutely.
Damn, 80 kilos, that's light. If he ever comes over to New Zealand, he's got a spot in Silverdale and 85 if he wants it.
That's the first thing I thought of when I was writing that down. I was like, shoot. I was thinking when I was playing Prem's footy, I'm like 85 kilos and just getting absolutely smoked. And this dude's playing in the NRL, running
I'm playing
back.
Under 85s at 85 kilos and getting smoked. So props to him. He's a brave man. But the guy who impressed me this week was the legend himself, your man, ripping the Fly Eagles fly, and that's Daly Cherry Evans. And in a round of blowouts where guys had the freedom to showcase their talents, DCE showed like true value in a close down-to-the-wire game, and they won 18-16, and if he wasn't on the field, they wouldn't have won that game. Simple as that. He has an innate awareness for the game, as evidenced by his 2 tries, where like one of them, he was just pushing up on the inside, knew the line break happened out with Parker, gives it back inside to Garrick. Garrick does a little chip over the top, and who's there? Daly Cherry Evans. And then also his second try, I believe it was Kerry tries to do the early shift. Cherry Evans, he's too old for that, man. He knows what's up, sees it coming, shoots out of the line, picks it off, gets the intercept.
Bro, he saw that in the first half. He knew that was coming for like 20 minutes.
A thief in the night.
Yeah, so he is just so in tune with what's happening in the game. But the real catalyst to how the Sea Eagles won this game was the boot of this man. And they were under a lot of pressure in that first half. The Roosters, were kind of unlucky to not go into the break with a bigger lead. But the reason they didn't have a bigger lead was because when the Sea Eagles got the ball back, the relieving kicks of Daly Cherry Evans were fantastic. And he was getting them downfield, and it's evidenced by the 767 kick meters that he had in the game. And also when they did have a decent attacking set, he would do early 40-20 attempts that really put pressure on the back 3 and had to keep them on their toes. So, man, this guy is just a rugby league legend. And if he continues playing like this, who knows how long he can go for, man. He's got a lot left in the tank.
I think he's having potentially one of the best seasons he's ever had this year.
I mean, you can tell he's clicking on like veteran levels of mentality. Like he sees everything out there. And man, I know he's Queensland, but I gotta give props to Cherry Evans, man. He is a legend.
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of compare him to SJ having a bit of a revival season, but I feel like DC never really had a slump, if you would call it, like Shawnee had when he was, coming back from the Sharks and then in the first season back with the Wars. He kind of really struggled and got a lot of criticism, and now he's just, playing a lot more fantastic, but also with a bit more of a veteran skill set. But I mean, DCE, man, just, I don't know how to describe it, but it's fine wine. He's just aging like fine wine.
And you like your wine, don't you?
I do, and I love it, Manly.
Well, similar vein of JT, going for a man who's been in the league for a while, played in the halves, and you could say that if he wasn't on the field, they wouldn't have got the dub. And it pains to call this man out because you already picked a Rabbitohs guy, and I'm picking a Rabbitohs guy, and I'm sorry to the Warriors, but Cody Walker played fantastic. He's a man who can understand the conditions. He knew exactly what his goal was coming onto that field, and that was to lead a team around the field, make smart plays, put pressure on the Warriors, and let them make mistakes, and let their team act clinical. He only ran the ball for 79 meters, but he had 2 line break assists, 1 try assist, 331 kick meters, 2 kicks caused forced dropouts, and just fantastic wet weather placement of the ball off the foot and making the right option on attack. So he's well earned his state of origin jersey. So, I mean, props to him for just putting a clinic on just if only he was playing for the Warriors, I guess. But
Yeah.
we've got SJ, we've got perfect halves, and I mean just
We just didn't play. Yeah, we didn't play good wet weather footy.
a side note: Luke Metcalf tried his fucking darndest to stir the team to victory and played well. Shawnee did all right, but Webster said it best. They tried to go around them, and the Rabbitohs went through them, and Walker drove that.
Which is what the Warriors, we've been saying every week, that's their strength, going through teams and playing off the back of it. Into the preview. So the Tigers take on the Sharkies at Combank Stadium. Twal, Naden and Nofaluma out for the Tigers. Hamlin Mweli and Dale Finucane out for the Sharkies. So obviously the Tigers got absolutely pumped last week, so the Sharks had a bit of bumping of their own last week as well. So the Sharks have won 9 of the last 10 games against the Tigers, but the last time that they played at Combank Stadium, the Tigers actually won. And the Tigers, though, only have a 33% win rate at Combank Stadium and look like shit at the moment. And the Sharks are true bottom feeders this year. So I'm going Sharkies in this one. Hines is still in the squad and all of their other stars, and I quite like them to kick the Tigers when they're down. I'm jumping in here. My best bet for this one is Sharkies at a minus 12.5 at $1.43. And this is where my lock comes in. So the Tigers continue to leak points to right wingers this season. Willie Warbrick had 4 3 weeks ago. Valame had 2 last weekend. So I'm going Sharkies at a minus 12.5 into Sione Katoa anytime at $2.10. And that's my lock of the week.
So, Sharks, $1.08 favourites. Tigers, $7.50 underdogs, with the line sitting at plus 20.5. I've actually gone the Sharks 13 plus, which is at $1.36. But I see that your minus 12.5 is actually better odds, so I'm changing that. I'm going to what you're doing. Because it's the same. Points different. It's just, better odds. But the Sharks were pretty good last week. Their execution in the strike zone continues to be one of the best in the league. Yeah. And the Tigers, who have looked kind of solid defensively all year, finally went over the hump and became a team that has given up on their season. And with no Brooks again, I think, that's it. We're going to see these big scores run up again. So I'm going to back the Sharks to do maybe not a 74-point jobby on them, but a decent jobby on them. And that's just my lock is Sharks head-to-head because I think they've got this one in the bag. And then I'm going to contribute my anytime try scorer multi with Ronaldo Mulitalo at $1.45.
So what was that head-to-head odds for your lock?
It's $1.08. Boo.
Yeah, big boo.
Yeah. I mean, we understand what the concept of a lock is, but I mean...
I want some value to my money. Yeah, I'm not going to put $100 on and get what? $8 back.
Might as well pick Victor Wembanyama to go first in the draft, mate. Better odds.
That's a lock. Did it happen?
So you set the line, it's at 20.5, and I'm picking that the Tigers can do all right to cover that, so I'm going with...
1 to 12?
No, certainly not. Tigers plus
lock.
20...
Tigers to cover the line, lock.
Yeah. Tigers plus 20.5 at $1.87 is where I'm going to put my money on that one. I think they're going to look to, perform a little bit better. I think a lot of the result last week is just on pure vengeance and, like a bit of an honor killing that the Cowboys needed to do. So I don't think other teams are going to get close to doing the same thing on them. And I feel like the Tigers will just bounce back a little bit after that.
Minus 20 is such a crazy line.
It feels disrespectful.
Like 4 tries.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Dragons take on the Raiders at Wynn Stadium. So Ben Hunt and Sloan out for the Dragons and Big Red out for the Raiders. The Raiders have a 45% win rate here and the Dragons have a 62% win rate here. The Raiders have won 3 of the last 4 games against the Dragons, but the last time that we previewed this, said those matches always end up in close affairs. And with an average margin of only 4 points separating the last 5 games, makes for a very interesting one again. Dragons have actually won the last 2 games in a row against the Raiders at Wynn Stadium, but in both of those games, Ben Hunt was on the field. So he's not this weekend, and that's why I'll be picking the Raiders. But for my bet on the game, I'm going Dragons at a plus 12.5 at $1.68.
Okay.
To me, that's quite a big line.
I like that. I really like that. The Raiders are the $1.34 favourites, and the Dragons are $3.15 underdogs, with the line sitting at plus 9.5. I'm also going to stick with the Raiders here. They're just a little bit better defensively, a little bit more reliable of a team at the moment. The Dragons missing Ben Hunt, which maybe could be better for chemistry, but I don't think so, because he's an elite talent, and you see when he is in the game, he makes whatever little things have been happening for the Dragons happen. So him being out is a huge loss for them.
Sloan's kind of an underrated one for me as well, although he's not like a key piece to this. He's a key piece to their attack, and there's so many games. We saw it last week where he just, from nothing, manages to do something.
The threat is there. When Sloan's on the field, there is a threat that something might happen. I just had to drop him from my draft team because he got like 15 points like 10 weeks in a row. So fuck him. But yeah, I'll stick with the Raiders 1-12 at $2.88, because you said there's been close affairs every time, and I've just been riding like Raiders 1-12, and it usually hits because Raiders just get the job done, but never in convincing fashion. So I'll do it again. Raiders 1-12, $2.88.
Yeah, see, I'm riding the Raiders, but I'm picking it's going to be convincing fashion. I think.
But you did that last week.
I don't care, man. It's coming through this time, because the fact of the matter is the Dragons got whooped. They've got no Hunt. It's going to be worse this time. The Raiders want a more convincing win after scraping through. So I'm going to pick Raiders 13+, and that's actually my lock of the week. I'm standing by it. Back me on this one, boys. It's coming through. So that 13+ will be $2.25, and actually my Smokies coming through in this one too. El Capitano, Jack Whiten. I don't know if he's the actual captain or just spiritually, but he's coming through as a try score.
Croker, I think.
$3.10. Yeah, but you know, well, it works better for the bit.
That's going to help for your lot. The more try scorers, the better. I actually really like him at those that value as well.
Same.
Eels take on the Warriors at CommBank Stadium. So Gutho, Moses, and RCG out for the Eels, and the Warriors pretty much unchanged. Now, both teams come into this with 9 wins on the season, and the Warriors at CommBank only have a 22% win rate, having only won 4 of their last 18 games here. And the Eels have also won the last 4 games in a row against the Warriors, and the last time that they played at CommBank Stadium, they won 28-18. Now, the Warriors have only lost back-to-back games once this year, and the Eels, for me, without Moses, or they performed quite well without Moses last time in Origin, but this time they've got no Gutho or RCG again, and the Warriors are definitely a different kettle of fish. They'll be wanting to right the wrongs from last weekend's performance, and that's why I'll be taking them at a minus 4.5 at $2 in this.
So Warriors, $1.60 favourites, and Eels $2.28 underdogs, with the line sitting at plus 5.5. I have checked the weather report for this game, and it is a coldish night, around 14 degrees, and a bit of cloud during the day, but it seems to clear up during the night. So it will be good enough conditions for running footy, and I don't have to worry about that. So I'm also going to back the Warriors, and I'm going to back them to cover a similar line. I'm going to back them to cover just the $1.90 money line at minus 5.5. I think the Warriors just were uncomfortable last week in the rain and kind of didn't play the game plan.
Everyone was uncomfortable in the rain.
Well, yeah, it was still a good turnout though.
Yeah.
You went to?
Nah, we pulled it. I don't know if you can hear me bloody coughing in the background, but I started to come down with it, and I pulled pin. I wasn't going to sit in the rain.
Enough.
I just
Didn't feel like offering the tickets out to anyone?
Nah, I should have, but I was just.
I would have said
should have chucked them quickly on the story, like
first in, first
first share or first like or something.
They were uncovered, so I was like, I'm not going to do that.
More of a punishment than a reward. But yeah, Warriors, they've got a bit of a dry track here. So the Eels, the reason I haven't gone like 13+, which I was considering, is because I go back to the result a few weeks ago of the Eels 34-4 against the Sea Eagles, and that kind of gives me like a, hey, this team's still got some talent. They still got some offloaders and does Sean Lane playing? I'm pretty sure.
I believe so, yeah.
Sean Lane's in, Davies in there.
The only one that stuck
Madison is in the halves again.
The only one that stuck out in that game for me was Gutho, though.
Okay, so he's gone as well. So I might be inclined to take a 13+, but I've got it written down minus 5.5 Warriors, so I'll just stick with that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm in similar territory. If we were looking at 2 complete squads, I would probably have to back the Eels, but thankfully, the Eels are a little bit under strength here, missing both halves, missing their full spine with Gutho out and RCG as well missing. So I'm picking that the Warriors get this done, a dry track, right the wrongs of last week. But as we saw during the last Origin week, the Eels play really well with those young halves. They've still got plenty of strike weapons out wide, and that's where we concede a lot of our tries. So I'm picking this is going to be close. Wires get it done, 1 to 12, $2.88.
Nice. I'm hoping the Wires get this because I've got an absolute doozy of a stat for next week if they get the result.
Oh, come on, Wires.
Rabbitohs take on the Bulldogs at a course stadium. So Murray, Walker, Cook and Kolomatangi out for the Bunnies. Adokar, Alamonte and Perham out for the Dogs. Don't really recommend watching this one. Both sitting at above 50% win rates. Yeah.
Record it.
Both sitting at above 50% win rates at a course stadium, but the Bunnies have won the last 5 games in a row against the Dogs. Now, quite a few inclusions in Origin, obviously, for the Bunnies, and the Dogs gave me absolutely no reason whatsoever to pick them in last week's performance, so I'm not. But I think this will be a little bit closer. I'm going to pick the Raiders in this one head-to-head, but I'm going to actually go the Rabbitohs to get this head-to-head, but I'm actually going to go the Dogs at a plus 5.5 at $1.95. And my try scorer Smokey comes in this one. So Jake Averulo, few outs for the Bunnies. I'm hoping that the Dogs bounce back with a few tries, and this bloke scored in the last time that they actually played each other. So my try scorer Smokey is Jake Averulo, and he's in at $3.10.
Was that Jake Averulo?
Yeah. I can't quite hit it like you, but yeah, that's the one.
So you got Rabbitohs to win, but Dogs to cover a +5 line. You don't have a whole lot of wiggle room there. You got 5 points of wiggle room.
No, I'm thinking. That's
so your betting player is going to be Bulldogs +5.
I'm picking the Rabbitohs will get this one, but I think that the Doggies will make this actually a little bit closer than what it is. The Rabbitohs give me no sort of hope when they don't have Cody Walker. Lachlan Ilias hasn't played well. The Dragons proved that the last time that they played them, and we're under the same sort of situation with no Murray, with no Walker. So all I'm hoping is the Doggies, for some reason, come out to play. Who let the Dogs out?
So the Rabbitohs are $1.49 favourites. Bulldogs, $2.55 underdogs, with the line sitting at +5.5. I've actually gone a bit more on the Bulldog side here. I think they're losing way too many people, the Rabbitohs. They're missing like all of their attacking spine with Walker, Murray, Cook all out, and then Latrell's not in there as well. I think the Bulldogs were embarrassed last week. Like you said, they gave me no reason to pick them this week.
Yeah.
But they've got that Rajabi guy or whoever was getting done out of the lineup. Burden is there still. They've still got some talented players that can boil over a team like the Rabbitohs, and I could see like them being in a close game and then getting the upset because they're lifted, fired up, and they've got a chip on their shoulder after such an embarrassing performance last week. I'm actually going Bulldogs 1 to 12 at $3.75. Not a massive recommendation of confidence on my part, but definitely take a stab, I reckon.
Yeah, see, I was looking at an emergency change of option here while Sam was talking, and then he chose his pick. And funnily enough, I had the exact same pick. I picked the Doggies to go +5.5, and at the time when I picked it was $2, so it's shrunken in a little bit. Nice. But yeah, I mean the Rabbitohs have lost.
It's cold. I wouldn't blame it for shrinking a little bit.
The Rabbitohs have lost a lot of key pieces, and don't get confused by the performance they put against the Warriors. This Rabbitohs team has struggled like for the last few weeks. Yeah. So, don't just think that they put a good performance against the Warriors and think they're going to beat the Doggies easily. So.
And who was mean against the Warriors?
Exactly.
Walker and Murray and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
all of their Origin players.
Exactly. Now the Titans take on the Dolphins at Seabus Stadium. So Brimson, Fafita, Fodawaker and Tino are out. Hammer, Confusi out for the Finns. And the last time that these two played, the Finns got the result 28-26. It was at Suncorp though, so this for me will be a little bit more in the Titans' favour. But a lot of key pieces are out for them, and Fafita and Tino bring so much to the side, along with Big Mo and the attacking flair that Brimo brings along with it. So I'm actually going to go Finns up, even without hammer time, and my best bet for this one will be the line that's sitting at a 2.5 at $1.92.
So, Titans, close odds. Titans are $1.78 favourites and Dolphins are $1.97 underdogs with the line sitting at +2.5. So, it's pretty much pick'ems if you've got both teams under $2. I agree, man. Another underdog. I'm going to take the Dolphins to get the upset here because a big factor to the Titans' success is David Fafita on that left edge. And he's kind of like a planet out there, like with the gravity and the impact he causes. Yeah, he's literally Jupiter out there. So I think without Jupiter, the the moons are going to go awry and just
Yeah.
fly off into the galaxy.
The solar system just becomes lost.
It becomes a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
So I'm going to back the Dolphins because their performance against the Broncos was pretty good. I know they're missing Hammer now, but they're starting to get the other pieces that have made them good earlier in the season back in the lineup. So
Valence Stefan has been a big one for me as well.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed watching him lately.
yeah, no, he is a dangerous guy. He's been to the pie shop a lot, but no, he is good. Dolphins, I'm going to back them 1-12 at $3.50. And my Smokey is also coming out of this game because, with Cleese Haas, who is Payne Haas's younger brother, but not too much experience in the top grade. You've got Stimson, I believe, on the other edge. There could be some vulnerability around there. I'm actually going to go Connolly Lumuelu at $4 to maybe get a smoky meat pie.
Nice. Well, just to your point before, JT, what is the name of Jupiter's biggest moon?
Aries? I don't know.
Titan.
Oh,
So there you go. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's probably some truth to it. It's crazy. Great minds
It's crazy
think.
that you knew that.
Yeah, I know.
I was a nerd in my former life.
Former.
Anyway, great minds think alike, Sammy. We've backed up on the same bets two games in a row. I also picked Dolphins plus 2.5.
No.
I was going to go head to head and it was sitting at $2.
Is that a good omen or a bad omen?
It's a fantastic omen. I was thinking head to head and it was sitting at about $2, but just for that extra safety in case they get pipped, just take a little bit less value. When I took it, it was at $1.83, so a bit of movement there. But yeah, go the Dolphins in this one.
Hands up.
So my smoky for the week, Jake Averillo in at $3.20, and lock of the week for me is Sione Katoa into the Sharks at the minus 12.5 at $2.10.
My smoky is Connolly Lemuelu at $4, and my lock is Sharks head to head again.
Nice. Yeah, my smoky and lock, you could think about giving it a same game multi because we've got Jack Wyden to get over at $3.10, and then for the Rays to get it done 13 plus at $2.25.
Nice.
Little juicy odds there for you.
Into the try scorer trifecta, so I'm going Hudson Young in this one. He's scored a try in the last 2 games that they've scored, that they've played against the Dragons, so lock him in there for me.
Mulatalo, riding him again, $1.47 here, so he's going down in value from last week, but he's a lock, man.
I'm going Raiders 3 from 3 in this one. So back your boy Matt Smoko got a fantastic runaway, showed a clean pair of heels, and he's going in at $2.85, I think it was.
Nice, so all that up is at $10.87, and we head into fact or fiction. So
Fact or fiction?
the Bulldogs also lost 66-0 to Manly on the same weekend in 2021. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to say fact. I don't remember that game, but I'm just going to say fact.
This weird stat to make up. So I'm just going to go fact because I just don't believe you could make that up.
Yeah, so that is a fact. The Bulldogs lost 66-0 to the Knights on Sunday the 2nd of July, and the Bulldogs also lost to Manly on the Saturday the 3rd of July in 2021. So Turbo scored a hat-trick, Saab scored a hat-trick, and Garrick finished with 2 tries.
I remember that game. I do remember that game.
He also finished with 30 points, and had Ponga scored 2 tries in that one, he would have finished with exactly 30 points as well. So
Damn.
pretty weird little similarities
Yeah.
in that. The Bulldogs lead the NRL in successful short dropouts this season. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to say fiction and go one more and say it's the Warriors that lead.
Yeah, I was thinking the Warriors because they do get a lot of success off that, but I'm just going to go fact.
It's fiction. The Rabbitohs.
Oh,
So the Bulldogs sit in tied second with 17 successful short dropouts, while the Rabbitohs lead the NRL with 19.
Do we know where the
you got
Warriors
that
sit?
right though.
I'm not sure exactly where they sit.
Tied second. No.
Billy Slater is the only Origin player to have won the Wally Lewis medal from a losing side. Fact or fiction?
I'm just going to go 3 facts. I'm going to say you're on your truth buzz today.
I'm just trying to think who could have put on such a good performance.
Oh,
lose
wait,
the
did you say
series.
only player?
Yeah.
Oh, language, fiction. I'm just going to say there was another guy, maybe.
Yeah, so you've jumped into my logic where I was going. I was just saying it's most likely that somebody else has done that.
Yeah.
I was trying to think if there has been, and I can't. But I'm gonna go 3 for 3. Yeah, I'm gonna go fiction.
It's a fact.
You bastard! Screw you, JT.
Don't
So-
listen to me.
New South Wales had won the first 2 in 2018, or the first 2 games in 2018, and Billy didn't score a single point in that entire series. He also only played 2 out of those 3 games, but managed to do enough to come away with it.
That's a
in his final ever Origin match.
So that's why they gave it to him.
Yeah, so they've since changed the rules.
The old
that one doesn't happen anymore.
Dirk Nowitzki All-Star selection.
yeah, hard out. Okay, that's fact or fiction out of the way, and we are into the UFC.
Oh, and isn't it a goodie?
Yes. We'll just quickly touch on the fight that there was this weekend. I know there's not much to say about it because it went pretty much the way we said it would go.
Mystic Skeen. I mean, you predicted the outcome, but just it happened a bit sooner on the timeline.
Yeah, way sooner, like round 2. So Sean Strickland gets it done, but over Abus Magomedov by just breaking him and getting a TKO. And you know, Magomedov won the first round like we kind of said he might with his kicks, and his body teeps were doing really well and they were really effective. Calf kicks as well. And then just as soon as the second round started, he was done.
Yeah, he just got boink, a little 1-2, and just the quit was just written all over his face.
And he wanted any way to get out of there. And then Sean Strickland, to his credit, showed him the way out and continued the pressure, followed him doing the old Sean Strickland. His striking actually looked a little bit better than what it usually looks, especially when going for that finish. But hey, man, that was really concerning for Abus.
Yeah, I mean, can I just give you flowers on something else you said last week, which was one of Strickland's key strike weapons, and I was looking for it, which was that awkward angle overhand / cross, or the hook that he throws with the right hand. That was money for him.
Yeah, it was.
All fight. And yeah, props for you to picking that, but that was a key weapon for him, so well done.
Yes, and I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of weapons, so it's not like too hard to pinpoint. But yeah, it's still a really good performance by Sean Strickland. What do you sort of see next for him going forward?
I want him to get the title. I mean, it's because, I mean, we'll get to it soon, but I mean, I'm expecting that Whittaker outclasses Duplessis, and we just have this weird situation where Whittaker is, you know, the only guy at the top that should face Izzy, but we need fresh meat. And I think Sean deserves it, you know?
Yeah.
I think Sean deserves a title. I don't think he needs to fight anyone above him unless he was to fight Whittaker again for a title or whatever. But Izzy needs an opponent much sooner for that to happen. So I think Sean gets a go.
And I tend to agree, because if something were to happen to Whittaker or Duplessis, they've only got till September to turn around, which is not long. It's like 2 months, and you're going to probably need some time off if you get injured, and you can't just jump in there straight away against a dangerous guy like Adesanya. So I reckon Sean Strickland's actually put himself right in position to either get that title fight in September in Australia, or at least be the backup to Whittaker or Duplessis, depending on who wins. So, hey, he's got star power now as well. Like, he's starting to get a bit of a following, whether it be, I mean, you know what they say, any publicity is good publicity, and he is a very polarizing character. But he's starting to get attention for it. But if we can just quickly touch on Abus Magomedov, do you see anything next for him, like in terms of a ranked opponent, or does he have to look outside the rankings now?
I mean, I don't know if it was just a huge step up or if he just didn't perform, but to have such a, I guess, immature fight approach, you know, I can kind of like it to like Raul Rosas, who in his most recent fight just scrambled for a submission for the first round and then was absolutely rooted and got fucked up. So that is a pretty rookie way to approach a fight, and I guess maybe he knew that the longer the fight was going, Strickland would have the upper hand and was trying to get it done early. But it's just, it just reeks of immaturity to try and just finish early and have nothing left to fight a top opponent in the later rounds, or not even the later rounds, the very next round. Yeah. So
a later round.
Yeah, he's not ranked at the
round
moment.
Later.
Yeah, so I mean, the middleweight division is pretty fucked up when you get past the top 10. So sure, you could give him a someone between 10 and 15. I haven't looked at the names or got any in my head, but
well, I think it was a jump up too far, especially with that performance. You can't just chuck him another ranked opponent and be like, hey, we're trying to get you in here. You've earned it. You didn't earn it. No. You shit the bed.
You spat on the opportunity.
Exactly. So I think he needs to look just outside the rankings and try build himself back into the prospect that I'm sure the UFC are wanting from him. And I think a good fight just on paper in terms of the styles, the kickboxing styles that match up, is Edmund Shabazian. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, I like that. I'm a big fan of Edmund. I think the style matchup's great. It would be a fight at the distance. You know, he would have somebody throwing kicks back at him, whereas Sean just kind of walked through the kicks, parried everything, and just got in his face and just pieced him up. So, but yeah, the matchup would suit Abus a little bit better, but I don't even think he's got the medals to beat Edmund. I think Edmund would dispatch
Edmund's pretty
him.
good.
Yeah.
Edmund's pretty. The only thing that Abus has that could be a tip in his cap is he's got pretty good grappling. He didn't get a chance to display it in this fight because he got Strickland in a pretty compromised position. Strickland just reversed it and got up.
Exactly.
So Edmund is a little bit weaker in that department, but it's still a dangerous striker. Edmund can put the lights out. He put the lights out of Brad Tavares, and not many people do that. So, hey, something to look forward to in the future. But the immediate future, oh my God, we have a stacked card this weekend.
Oh my God.
UFC 290 on International Fight Week. Man, it doesn't get much deeper than a card like this. Super stacked. So we've got a few fights that we want to go through and sort of get you guys' predictions on. The first fight that I want to cover is the featured prelim, which is Nico Price, who is sitting at a $1.35 favorite, taking on Robbie Lawler, who is the $3.10 underdog. Nico Price, a really scrappy, gritty fighter, taking on Robbie Lawler.
Another scrappy, gritty fighter.
Exactly. One of the legendary scrappy, gritty fighters, a former welterweight champion and a Hall of Famer. And what is potentially his last fight? I think he has come out and said that this will be his last fight. Who have you got in this one?
I mean, I don't recall any recent last fighter who's actually come out with his hand raised. They all have a poor showing. It's a real sad affair. The
Poor
gloves
Frankie.
come off. Yeah, the gloves come off and they cry in the ring. And I'm expecting waterworks from Robbie Lawler when he hangs up. I mean, credit to him, he's had a fantastic career. But I mean, Nico Price, an extremely durable fighter with decent stand up. I'm expecting this one goes 3 rounds. They both look much worse at the end of it, but Price gets his hand raised with a decision.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with that, but I'm going to say Nico Price gets him out of there in the 3rd round by TKO.
Okay.
I think the performance against Barberena kind of gives me the feeling that this is more of just a hobby payday now for Robbie Lawler than it was back in his prime where he was having fight of not just the year, but maybe of all time with Rory McDonald,
Hall of Fame
Carlos Condit. Exactly. So that same guy isn't there, but that's going to happen when you're 41 years old and you've been to the top and you're kind of looking down the barrel of some losses and stuff like that. So I'm going to say Nico Price, who tends to build in fights and, he's really puts the pressure on in the back end of fights. I'm going to say he does that same thing here and he gets Robbie Lawler out of there in the 3rd round. So that's where I'm going. 3rd round TKO to Nico Price. The next fight, Bo Nickel. This is on the main card now. Bo Nickel, a $1.07 favorite, so bit of a Sharks lock there. Taking on Trayshawn Gore at $8 underdog. Massive wrestling prospect, this Bo Nickel. Won his UFC debut in the 1st round. Won his 2 Contender Series fights in the 1st round. One of the most credentialed NCAA wrestlers of all time, they're saying. Taking on Trayshawn Gore, who is a Ultimate Fighter alumni with some power in his hands, but a bit sketchy form since joining the UFC. How do you see it going?
Yeah, so just fun fact for those who are looking to bet on this one. Trayshawn Gore's come out, it was a little while ago once the fight was announced, but he actually said he accepted the fight without knowing exactly who Bo Nickel was. So he didn't know who he accepted the fight against. And then,
whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this one...
I can respect that.
Yeah.
I mean, so this one, I'm assuming they threw a paycheck at him because nobody wants to fight the Bo Show. Absolutely nobody wants to go up against this guy. And because, he will rush you in the 1st round. He's got great hands, obviously not completely polished because he's young, but in the fights that we've seen and how long they've gone for, he hasn't just ran straight in for a takedown. He'll set it up. He'll throw. He'll exchange with you, and he's got great power. Like I'm sure he's dropped a few people before he subbed them out.
In the regional scene, he got a knockout.
Yeah. So I'm picking this one is not long at all. I think Gore turns up for a payday, just like maybe Lawler is. This one's going down quickly, and I'm thinking, if you want real good money, I mean, I bet because the odds aren't out yet. I reckon this will come in at around $3.50, maybe $2.50, like a 1st round sub for Bo Nickel. I'm honestly thinking.
That's exactly where I'm going as well. 1st round sub to Bo Nickel. I'm going to say a rear naked choke. And I honestly think it'll be lower. I think it'll be $2.20, something like that. So he is a huge favorite in this contest. And I don't really see it going any other way, honestly.
No, because if his head to head's $1.07, the method of victory of submission for Bo is going to be like $1.30, $1.40. Like it's not. There's going to be no value in that either.
Is there a crazy world where Gore gets a fluke knockout? Yep, there is.
No,
There's
there
a chance. Okay, no, there isn't. But like, you know what I mean? If you want to take a terrible play at a Gore underdog, I mean, go for it.
Yeah, that's definitely not betting advice from us. But if you're looking to just fade the bookies massively and I don't know, fade the whole universe, then back Gore. But I don't think anybody is going to be betting on him. And that show, because, you know, if there is a slight chance, the odds will be around $1.20, $1.30 if they think there's somehow that the underdog will win. But where it's almost close to $1, you know, like there is almost a zero return. Like they're saying this is just as much as a lock as Wembanyama going first in the draft.
Yeah.
Or the Sharks winning head-to-head against the Dragons.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's not happening. This was written in the stars.
Okay. Well, I just tried to play devil's advocate a little bit, but, you know, I couldn't even convince myself. So now it gets juicy. We got some juicy fights. We got Jalen Turner, the 6'3",
The spider.
prodigy, the tarantula.
Tarantula, sorry.
$1.43 favorite against our boy, Dan Hooker. Dan the Hangman Hooker, $2.75 underdog. Coming off a win, I believe. Dan Hooker, he beat Claudio Puelles, your favorite fighter.
Still waiting for that T-shirt, though.
You'll get something, don't worry. Jalen Turner is a prospect. He's coming off a loss, actually. He lost to Gamrot in what was mostly a grappling affair. And honestly, a lot of people thought he could have won damage-based.
Yeah.
And, man, he has been looking very impressive. Dan Hooker is just a scrapper, man. At lightweight, we know he's got a mean chin. He's got really unorthodoxly dangerous striking. He likes throwing together hook combinations. He brings the knee up the middle and he gets it real high and can land on the chin. Good fight. I'll start with you, Sam. What do you see? How do you see this one going?
I don't know a lot about Turner coming into this one, but I do know about Dan Hooker, and obviously his recent fights have been a little bit up in the air at the moment.
Yep.
But what I do know is he's coming into this one with some ink. And he's got a nice little calf tattoo or a big lead tack coming into this one. And
I think he's got his back done.
he's got his back as well.
Yep.
But the reason why I say leg is I reckon that thing's going to get some work done on it. So, look, I'm going to pick Dan Hooker to get the result in this one.
Wow.
Obviously, my knowledge to this is a little bit slim, so don't lock in what I'm saying here. But I got to back the hometown boy in this one. And, yeah, look, I don't mind watching Dan Hooker sometimes when he's fighting in that. So I'm looking forward to seeing this whole card for starters, but I'm going to back the Kiwi boy in to get the result here.
Simon, do you agree?
I sadly, I don't. This is such a sad fight to watch as a Kiwi. And Jalen Turner, someone needs to ask him if he's got a fucking thing against New Zealanders because he's coming for them, right? Who was it? Shane or Brad?
Riddell.
Brad, yeah. He did damage.
Got him out of there quick.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, what is it with the Kiwis, bro? Like, leave us alone because we like you. You're a good fighter.
You fucking weight bully.
Yeah.
6'3" in the lightweight division.
Yeah, and Dan,
kind of shredded. Like, what are you doing?
Dan's no short cunt either, so he's a tall fella, and he's gonna have to worry for the watch out for the range. But
you shouldn't be talking about cutting weight when you're coming into 85s
all the time. Hey, this isn't about me.
Yeah, exactly. This is about the UFC, and
that is true though. That is the pot calling the absolute kettle coloured.
Just before we recorded this, the Warriors put something up on their social media and they asked the Warriors boys to pick who they thought was going to win this fight. And all of them, bar Dallin, picked Hooker. So shout out Dallin for being a real
About
one.
as impartial as Sammy.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably, and just like there's no world where Gore gets the win against Nickel, there's no world where Turner gets a KO finish against Dan with the way he is durable. 3 rounds. Touching wood, as I say it. But well, you can wait your turn to see what you think's gonna happen. I'm telling everybody right now that it's gonna be a tough fight. Hooker's gonna absorb a lot of damage. I don't think he's got the skills to put Turner away, so I'm picking a Turner decision.
Well, and I'm going to contradict you because I'm going a Jalen Turner finish, round 2 TKO. He has got 7 UFC wins, and all of them are by finish.
Yeah.
So I believe he's going to do a similar thing here. I'm going to trust that Hooker is pretty tough and he gets standing TKO'd, but the zap in Turner's punches kind of reminds me of Oliveira, where when he punches people, it stings them and they really react. And Hooker has got a chin. There's no doubt about it, but he is getting a little bit older. He's been in some wars, and I can see those shots really affecting him. And I could see the ref maybe stepping in round 2 and being like, hey, this is a bit too much. You're on the cage here. You're getting punched and beaten up against the cage, calling it off. So I'm going to go Turner by standing TKO against the cage.
It's not unreasonable, but I just didn't want to hear it.
So, the feature fight, Robert Whittaker, $1.26 takes on Dricus du Plessis, $3.70. Simon, what do you see in this one? You got Robert Whittaker, who is the absolute eater of middleweight contenders, just gatekeeping his way to potentially a third fight against Adesanya, even though he's down 2-0. And Dricus du Plessis, who has been in the news lately for his rivalry with Adesanya and his words about being a true African champion, and Adesanya has taken offense to that. And it's caused a bit of rivalry and bad blood, and it's kind of, they've made this match to give Dricus the opportunity to find himself in a title shot so they can have that heated battle. Yep. Do you reckon he gets it done?
Well, see, based on past form, I don't think he does. But the one wildcard factor that I don't know if many, I guess you could call them UFC casuals would know, is that Dricus du Plessis, up until this fight, has had no airflow through one of his nostrils and only partial airflow through the other. He was supposed to have the surgery before his previous fight. He got the offer and delayed the surgery, so he's been home back to South Africa. He's had surgery, so he's now got better airflow through both his nostrils. And if you noticed in his previous fights, his mouth comes open within the first round and he's mouth breathing the whole time. It's not just because his gas tank's fucked. It's because he just actually couldn't breathe through his nostrils. So that's going to be a massive factor with a man who can still fight, at the UFC level while mouth breathing, which is difficult as it is. Now with much better gas tank, much better cardio, we don't know what kind of pressure and pace he's going to try and put on Whittaker. But with all of that just being said, I still don't think he's got the skill set.
Nah.
I think Whittaker is that gatekeeper for a reason. There is a bit of a gulf between these other middleweight fighters and the top two. And I'm picking that it's a longer fight. Dricus, he's going to push the pace early. I think Whittaker's going to wait to get some of those reads. And then I think he's going to put him away later in the fight.
Sammy?
Well, like all good gates are made to be opened.
Whoa!
And obviously that was news, what you were saying just before about what Dricus du Plessis has been saying in regards to Izzy. And that's one thing that I don't like, when someone coming into a high intensity performance or whatever, whether it's a game or something else, you shouldn't be focusing on the next step ahead, and you should be putting all of your time and your energy into what's actually right in front of you without, going out there and saying he's coming for Izzy and laid out on his back and he never actually ends up getting there. But I'm picking that he's going to kick the gate open in this one.
Wow,
and
okay.
I'm gonna say, obviously, like what you said, he's had his nose cleaned out. Obviously, when you're breathing through your mouth, your jaw's open, and that creates a lot of vulnerable aspects with going to sleep, and so that jaw will be closed and hopefully staying closed. And I'm going to pick du Plessis to get the job done here.
Yeah, it's an interesting clash of styles, this fight, because it's a real technical, bouncing in and out, pick your punches sort of style of Robert Whittaker taking on the more aggressive and flurry combinations of Dricus du Plessis. It's hard. This new nose du Plessis could be a new mythical fighter, and we could see him just push an unrelenting pace on Robert Whittaker and come away with a victory. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Robert Whittaker, like you said, is far more skilled. I think he's going to be patient, and he's going to pick du Plessis apart when du Plessis does try to close the distance and land those flurry shots. I see this being a decision to Whittaker. I've got the decision prop here at $2.87, and if I were to pinpoint like a score, I honestly think it'll be 30-27, 30-26. Maybe Whittaker pulls away big time in the third round by landing some head kicks and landing some shots that potentially drop Dricus all over the show. So I'm thinking the gate stays closed, man, and we've got this just monopoly on the top of the division.
Can I take you over to Conspiracy Corner for a second?
Go for it.
All right, so we all know, right, that the storyline and all of the press is building up for New Blood, get du Plessis as a title fight. Now, I'm picking they're going to have Chris Lee and Sal D'Amato on the judging table, and if Rob doesn't get the finish, it's very likely that he gets a split robbery and they give Duplessis the win so that there is new blood.
Well, not if it's 30-26. I don't think even they could do that.
Well, you never know. Honestly, I mean, like, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but there was the young Aussie fighter, Jack Jenkins. He fought in his fight with it and it went to decision. The one judge who isn't, facing everyday allegations for being corrupt scored it 30-27 for the other fighter, whereas Saudi Mata and Chris Lee gave different rounds to Jack Jenkins, but both scored it 29-28 in his favor. So they're capable of, wishy-washing any sort of, what could be.
Don't ever underestimate their powers.
No, exactly. So, I mean, if you wear tinfoil hat, Duplessis decision, if the money's there.
That's what I'm writing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could get for some merch a special edition tinfoil Lads Talking Footy hat for Simon.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll continue to our first title fight of the night, and that is the flyweight title on the line between Brandon the Assassin Baby Moreno, who sits at $1.51 favorite, over Alejandro the Cannibal Pantoja, which is a cool as fuck nickname. I really like that one.
Better than Assassin Baby.
Exactly. So $2.50 underdog, though, which is very interesting considering that these guys have history, and Pantoja is actually technically 2-0 against Brandon Moreno. He subbed him out in the second round on the Ultimate Fighter in the season that they both competed in. And then he also has a pretty dominant, I watched it the other day, a pretty clear victory over Moreno in UFC. So this is technically Moreno Pantoja 2, but it's actually a trilogy fight.
Yeah.
No, it's technically 2 because
yeah.
the Ultimate Fighter is an exhibition fight.
Yes.
Do you see it going the same way for Pantoja? Can he repeat history here?
I don't know. I mean, just looking at Moreno's development over the years, and even just against his against the Figueiredo fights, like we've seen him level
fight
up
to fight. Yeah,
we've seen him level up hugely. I mean, the way he put away Kai as well, which is unfortunate to say because we really wanted Kai to take that championship, but to get him with a liver shot and put him out like that shows that he's got some serious punch for that weight class. Because Kai's no pussy, so I think Moreno's he's got a great level skill set, but this is his boogeyman. I saw someone commenting about this is the was it flyweight? Yeah, flyweight version of Adesanya versus Pereira. You've got this one guy coming up.
I like that.
Yeah, who's kind of got
not on a pure kickboxing standpoint, but just an overall mixed martial arts styles.
And the rent-free space in his head. I mean, we actually don't know, right? Because Moreno's not that busy on social media and things like that. So we don't know how much rent he's taking.
Lego.
Yeah, he was playing with toys. But yeah, I'm pussyfooting around a call here, but I really don't know how this goes. I'm picking it's going to go in Moreno's favor. I am not well versed in Pantoja enough to say whether it's a KO or a decision, but 5 rounds, you think he's going to get the finish, but that's where I'm going to put my money on those two methods.
So Pantoja, like Pereira, this is why I liked your analogy. Pantoja is super aggressive in his style. He comes forward the whole time. He actually has decent-ish technical skills in striking, like he mixes it up really well, but he definitely is risky in the way that he strikes, and he just likes going forward, and he bombards you with hooks, he bombards you with kicks. He usually does a nice leg kick to end his combinations, but he's always moving forward, and the end goal of that is to either drop you and then jump on your back, or to get to your hips and try to take you down. He really wants to get to your back. That is Pantoja's main objective. Moreno has shown, like you said, he has been leveling up fight after fight with Figueiredo. And ever since that first fight with Pantoja as well, he is just a completely different fighter. He was a little bit more reckless and unsure of himself in those first Pantoja fights. You could tell now that he is just the dog. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's got elite boxing skills. I think Pantoja is going to potentially win these first couple of rounds. He's going to make it uncomfortable for Moreno, but the heart of this guy has been proven time and time and again, and I think he's going to show it here. And it's hard to say that someone will slow down in a flyweight fight because these guys are tiny and fit as fuck. But honestly, Pantoja's style is so aggressive that I could see him potentially slowing down just a little bit to where Moreno starts taking over in the back end rounds. I'm going to say this is a tough fight, really tough fight, but I'm going to say Moreno can get it done, overcome his boogeyman, and get a 48-47 decision victory where he looks like the fresher and more dominant fighter in those 4th and 5th rounds. Wins the 3rd, might be a little bit hairy, something like that.
Nice. Yeah, the one thing I'll add is, if Pantoja's key weapon is the back take, I mean, what has Moreno spent the last few matches against Figueiredo doing? Defending some gnarly ground-like battles. So he's well-versed in escaping some of these compromised position that Pantoja's chasing.
You see the scrambles from Moreno. His grappling has just gotten better and better over the years. And then I go back to a fight which is maybe about 3 years ago now, but he had a fight with Brandon Royval, who is of similar aggression and back-taking willingness.
Yep.
And he out-grappled him and actually injured Royval on the ground, made Royval hurt his shoulder. It might have been a little bit of a fluke injury, but it's still a testament to his grappling ability and his ability to control a dangerous guy. So I'm going to trust that Moreno has made the improvements to close the gap and even surpass the gap.
Yep, I like it.
And finally, the big one, the main event. My guy, Alexander the Great, Volkanovski, $1.26 favorite, defends his featherweight title against the interim champion or the fake champion. Nah, he's still a talented guy as well. Yair Rodriguez, $3.70, one of the most entertaining Taekwondo artists in the whole UFC. His kicks are honestly probably the most dynamic in UFC history. He has got an absolute repertoire of dangerous kicking weapons, but he takes on a guy in Volkanovski who is just a dog, just a technical beast in terms of stand-up striking, is fit as fuck, is locked in as fuck, always focused up until the 5th round, has good, clinch abilities, grappling abilities, all of that, but it is dangerous with Yair's skills. Start with you, Sammy. What do you see for Volkanovski? Can he get it done?
Well, obviously coming into this, Yair really impressed me in his last fight.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a very tough matchup for him because Yair's really coming into this one and he wants to take this. But Volkanovski is coming obviously back down that division and he's fighting at a weight that's more comfortable to him, and it's not like he's going back up and having to sort of play around with what he's not comfortable with. So he's looking very, very confident within himself and within this division again, and I'm going to be picking Volkanovski to take it here.
Nice. Do you think he can get a finish?
I think this is going to go down to the wire.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, like you said, Yair's got the kicking ability, the strike ability, and so he's going to have to sort of dance around a little bit this one and play it a little bit smart. So I think it's going to go the distance, and I think he's going to get the decision.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that's working in Yair's favor is, like what you said, is Volk's last opponent was Islam, a big, heavy wrestling stand-up strike. Well, conservative boxing approach, and is trying to get you to the ground. Whereas Yair,
kickboxing, a few kicks in there.
Yeah. Whereas Yair is the opposite approach. He's not really looking to take you to the ground. He can do all right there, if you end up there. But his main goal is to hurt you standing up. Is to throw some of those spinning wheel kicks, those switch kicks, the flying knees, anything to throw you off your stance and your pattern and just exploit the weakness of being uncomfortable. But a man like Volkanovski has got,
he's never uncomfortable.
That's right. He's comfortable in the uncomfortable. Yeah. He survived a mounted seated guillotine attempt from Brian Ortega. The man has been to the dark, deep depths and come out the other side. So I think there is very little pressure that this man will crumble under. And I think if Yair decides to get loose and reckless and try and be, that kind of flashy, flowy guy that he has found his success with, I think Volk's got 3 to 4 game plans to exploit that. Like if Yair leads with one of those spinning wheel kicks, I guarantee Volk's got something to nullify that and to hurt him with it so that he doesn't try that again and limits the weapons that Yair tries to hurt him with. I think that's the secret to how Volk gets this done. I think he shows his discipline, shows the defense and the counters that limit Yair's weapons, really challenge his ability to find openings and then push the pace. I think Volk's going to really turn it up a notch in these later rounds. I'm thinking this is going to be a ground and pound TKO finish to Volk, potentially rounds 3 or 4, but don't be surprised if it goes to the 5th round.
Okay, and he's going back to back with 2 very different styles and both very threatening, but in different ways. And he's gone from an absolute elite, big, powerful wrestler to one of the most dangerous strikers in UFC history. But like you perfectly broke down, in Volk I trust, because this man is just so comfortable in the ring. He's got such high fight IQ. He's always does the prerequisite preparation to make sure that he has all bases covered and he is not shocked when he's in there and there's nothing that he hasn't seen in training. He's going to be prepared for this one. I see Volk coming out with the victory. In the first round, I see maybe a bit of a feeling out process with both men being a little bit hesitant.
A lot of hand fighting.
Yep. I think maybe it will be a swing round that could go either way, but then round 2, I could see both men opening up a bit, but with Yair maybe landing some really good stuff that makes you go, oh, okay, this is kind of dicey here. Volk's got to be on his A game. But like you said, he finds a way, man. He knows how to break you down. And then in rounds 3, 4, and 5, I could see any one of those rounds having a moment where Volkanovski's on top and he's raining vicious ground and pound. The only thing that I will give to Yair in those rounds is that he is tough. And he's shown that from the Holloway fight. He's showing that from the Korean Zombie fight. He is a tough motherfucker. He looks pretty flimsy, his frame and stuff. And the way he kicks, you wouldn't expect him to be so gritty and hard. But he is, man. He is a tough Mexican fighter. Yeah. I'm actually going to pick that he does stick around, but he gets dominated in those last 3 rounds. And I'm going to call a 49-46 decision to Volkanovski. So 4 rounds to 1. There might be a 10-8 chucked in there for Volk, especially if the ground and pound gets pretty heavy. But I'm going to say that Rodriguez sticks around. The decision prop is paying $1.91, so it's not the greatest odds, but I think it's the most likely thing that's going to happen.
The head-to-head odds in favor of Volk, which is $1.20, what you said?
$1.26.
Yeah, see, the bookie's got to know something, man. Like, that's for a championship belt, an interim champion versus the champion, to have a heavy favorite like that. They've got to know something. In Volk, they trust.
In a lot of people's eyes, he is the pound-for-pound number 1, and he just keeps showing from fight to fight. Like, the last couple of fights, people have been writing him off, and he did lose against Makhachev, I guess, technically.
Well,
but
allegedly. I mean, lots of people still score 3 rounds in favor of Volk.
But
2,
even
3, and 5.
the fights against Holloway, like the second fight and the third fight, like, people were sort of thinking, nah, this is Holloway's time to get his comeback. Like, he's going to show Volk that he is the real guy. He's going to show the levels, and Volk absolutely skills him, especially in that third fight. So I just never underestimate this guy now. He's 5'6". Yeah. He's bloody as tall as my hip, man. No, he's not. I'm not that tall. But
the one thing is
like, he's just the man. He achieves above and beyond every fight.
Yeah. With Islam, it was very easy. I guess, it was easier to have fighters in your camp replicate the style that he's going to expect. But where do you find someone to spar like Yair? You know, like that's
well, he brought in Blood Diamond.
Okay, I mean, now that man is a loose cannon.
But like, if you look at Blood Diamond's kickboxing highlights, they're pretty wild and like, they're not as like, the technique isn't as crisp and clean as Yair, but he does throw out wild strikes and stuff. So, I mean, if you're reaching, it's a good partner.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But I mean, just the skill set and the talent that Yair provides, it is a challenging matchup. And there is a possibility that he brings something that Volk isn't as prepared to face. But like we've said before, the man is comfortable in the uncomfortable and will get a read. He'll get something, going that will nullify, I think, whatever Yair brings. Ground and pound TKO. I can't wait to scream at the TV. And just shout out, it is actually my birthday this Sunday during the card. So what better way to enjoy my birthday than to just
indulge
sit down, sink a few brews and watch some blood sport.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Win on the TAB and then go spend it at the casino. No.
Double down. Yeah. Into Jersday. So I'll kick us off again this week. And again, I'm going to be heading back down the road and back to Silverdale. So what's better than 1 Centurion game is 2. What's better than 2 Centurion games? 3. And this weekend, the great Jono Bass will be playing 100 games for Silverdale, and super stoked that bloke gets to walk out there and trot for the mighty green, gold and red again, and 100 of the best for the Prems. And we played a lot of footy together at Orewa College before he obviously left school early to join the Navy, and then linked back up again at Silverdale. And he's been through some injuries and all of that of himself, as does every great battler that plays 100 games of Premier footy. And I'm super stoked that he gets to run out there and represent it, because if there's one bloke that's just loyal to absolutely nothing, it's that guy again. And week in, week out, that boy's seen a lot of yellow cards, a few reds, and it's great to see that he sees the colour of black this weekend. And look, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great night at the club rooms again. Ev gets his hundy, or is going to be getting his blazer presented as well. And yeah, no better way to enjoy your Saturday afternoon than going down and supporting them. So yeah.
I tell you what, you mentioned cards, and if you are a Silverdale long-term fan, there is one player who played in the locks and took on that enforcer role and kind of a bit of a mentor for John O'Bass, which is the one and only Darren Wigg.
Yeah.
So I think it is a good honour that Jono kind of took up the role of being the big man in the middle of the forward pack. Didn't let any carry on happen in the middle of a ruck. Always there to back up his boys, to grab shirt and throw down. So yeah, full credit to Jono for sticking around for 100. He did it the hard way, let's just say.
I tell you what, he must be the picture of consistency because he has a lot less years on the clock than Ev and McMurtry, and he's getting 100 already.
Well, yeah, Davey obviously played for Bays. He travelled as well. Ev went on an OE throughout his time as well, and so Jono's just had his feet planted in Silverdale since school.
So the point I'm getting across is, who's to say he couldn't play like 150, 200?
Well, he could get there. Well, the only man that's gotten 200 is he's an international Cook Island Sevens player, and that's his name is just Fitzy, Lance Fitzpatrick. Yeah, excuse me for the stumble, but yeah, I mean, man, if he could join that category, get his own car park after 200, maybe get his own grassroots rugby episode like Fitzy got, man, that would be some excellent company for him. So yeah, I reckon here's another 100 in your future, Jono.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, those guys that have played alongside him know what he's like at training as well. He's an absolute menace. You see what he does in the rucks. You should see what he does in the rucks at training. It's no fun sticking around with that bloke. When you're running around and you see him coming nearby, it's just like
hands off the ball straight away.
Yeah. He is the epitome of you train how you play. Yeah. It is match for every second of training.
Great stuff. My Jersday, I've got a two-parter for my Jersday. The first guy, yeah, I know, but what are you going to do? The first part, I've got Max Verstappen because he won the Austrian Grand Prix for his 6th win out of the 9 races so far this season. And if we've been talking about locks all show, this guy is an absolute lock, especially if he starts in pole position. It's never paying that much, but whenever I see his name 1 through 3, I go, well, he's going to win because the dominance that he is on at the moment is like something not seen since like Schumacher or Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like he is just on another level. He is the reigning 2-time back-to-back drivers champion, and he already has 42 wins and 86 podiums, and I don't even know if he's 25 years old. I'd have to look up. I forgot to look up how old he is, but he's still a young guy with his whole career ahead of him. He probably has the best team in the competition in Red Bull and probably the fastest car for the last 2 and 3 years. But as you can see from the inconsistent form of Checo, it's Max, man. Like he is the guy, and he's just on another level. He drives with an aggression that most people covering the sport say they haven't seen since Ayrton Senna. Do you know that name?
Yeah, of course I do.
Ayrton Senna. I've seen the documentary, so I like that guy as well. But this guy, Max Verstappen, just tries to make passes on the most difficult angles, so fast in the car, and we could see Max Verstappen dominating for a long time. So I just thought I would shout out the old Formula One because I am a big Drive to Survive guy.
Nice.
Like following that series. I've also been watching the tennis one lately, which is pretty good. But my second part is, I know you got your 45th birthday this weekend, right? So I remember you got me a shirt and you were talking about Claudio Puelles and how he was your favorite fighter. I thought...
Was I?
I did not get you a Claudio Puelles one, but I did see something on Instagram that I was like, no way, that is so classic. So I've actually got you an early present because we're not going to be able to do the show till Thursday, which is like way after your birthday.
Yeah.
I would have forgotten by then. So I got something for you.
Oh, fantastic. Alrighty. Oh, JT's reaching into the pocket. Okay, he's handing me something.
Now, I know how much of a Fast and the Furious fan you are.
Stop it.
Because I know you brought your cup for the first couple of shows after we watched that movie.
Family's important.
So I saw this and I was like, no way, that would be perfect.
Oh, that's fantastic. Family is so important to me. And I do have the same haircut as the man Dominic Toretto. So for those who are listening, JT's just got me the absolute greatest supporter tee of Dominic Toretto from Fast and Furious. And
it's actually like all good quality as well.
It says, what does it say down the bottom? I don't have friends, I have family. And that's
right. He says that. Yeah. He did say that.
That is true. Thank you very much, bro.
No worries.
I appreciate that present. That is fantastic. Alrighty, so that was that the two-parter?
Yeah, that was the two
wow,
parts,
that was
yeah.
the Jersday presentation. That's fantastic.
Yeah, Dominic Soretto, he got a Jersday on Let's Talking Footy. How about that?
Fantastic. Well, I don't have a two-parter, but I've got like a 1.5 because I did have someone lined up and then somebody kind of pushed in front. So I'd had lined up Ricky Fowler. I mean, he's a bit of a name in the golf scene. He's been around for ages. He was synonymous for wearing like the full orange kit up, and he's had some really close finishes and has had a lot of poor form. So he finally won the Rocket Mortgage event in this weekend after 1,600 winless days and a well-deserved win after losing the US Open when he was in the lead by a few shots coming into the final round. So that's really heartbreaking stuff, which is the US Open's a huge tournament. So to come back and win convincingly. So well done to Ricky Fowler. But my Jersey this week is a homegrown Kiwi stepping up on the UK tour, and he has won the British Masters event on the DP World Tour, and which is basically the UK version of the PGA, and that is none other than Kiwi Daniel Hillier. He's a young fella following in the footsteps of Sir Bob Charles, if you've heard of that name, Kiwi golfing goat. Following in the steps of Sir Bob Charles, takes out the British Masters event. Coming in on his final round, he was back 3 shots. So he went eagle, birdie, eagle on holes 15, 16, and 17 to take a 2-shot lead and then parred the final hole on the 18th to secure his win. A final round of 66. 6 shots under par to win roughly $1 million Kiwi paycheck and qualified for the Open at St Andrews, the home of golf. So the UK version of the Open, but that's full of massive stars. So, Ryan Fox will be there. Most of the great US PGA players will be there. Rory McIlroy will be playing as well. At the place that supposedly birthed golf. Daniel Hillier, a young Kiwi, getting qualification and a massive paycheck.
Nice.
So, I mean, that's a fantastic finish. He didn't really consider himself in the hunt and just had a fantastic run home. I mean, so if anyone doesn't know, an eagle was 2 shots under par, birdie 1 shot under par, and then another eagle to gain 5 shots in 3 holes and then par the last one to maintain the lead. So that's crazy. That's nerves of steel. And some of those shots to hit the green to secure those eagles were from the rough, not in the middle of the fairway. Yeah. Really tough shots. And these greens in these tournaments are like glass, super hard stuff to stick. So fantastic effort from Daniel Hillier, and look out for him as a name in the future.
Okay,
fantastic.
Very nice.
All right, that's another one in the books for us. So enjoy all the footy over the weekend. Enjoy the Origin. We'll be reviewing that next Thursday. Enjoy the UFC this weekend, and feel free to wish Simon an early happy birthday when you hear this. So we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.